What kind of motel tells a dad his kids aren't welcome? Quinn Phelps didn't say it out loud. He just stared at the front of his own business, jaw tight, luggage in hand. He'd inherited the 5-location motel chain from his father 4 years ago. It was his father's pride, a humble, family-friendly name that had served small-town travelers for decades. Quinn had spent most of his time growing the brand, investing in online systems and modern upgrades, but lately, customer reviews had taken a hit. One in particular caught his eye last week. A young single dad wrote about being made to feel unwelcome when checking in with his 2 kids late at night. Quinn didn't want to rely on second-hand reports anymore. Too many excuses from his district manager. Too many, we'll look into it. So he booked a room under a fake name, dyed his salt and pepper beard fully gray, threw on a trucker hat, and drove 4 hours to the smallest location in the chain, the one with the worst ratings. He'd never met most of the front desk staff personally. His father used to know every employee by name, but Quinn had been more hands-off, especially during expansion. That was about to change. The sun had just gone down when he walked into the lobby. It was quiet, outdated, and smelled faintly like old carpet and pine sol. A young woman at the counter looked up and smiled. "Hey there, welcome, checking in?" she asked. "Yeah, one-night stay, reservation under Frank Dooley," Quinn said, using the alias he'd created. She typed on the computer. "Yup, got it here. Room 104, I'm Dana." "Let me get you your key." Dana looked tired, but she was polite, efficient. No complaints there. As Quinn turned toward the hallway, the door opened behind him and a man in his late 40s walked in, wearing a wrinkled button-down and holding a large soda. "Back already?" Dana asked. "Yeah," the man said, brushing past her with barely a glance. "Hope you didn't give any of the good rooms away to another circus family." Quinn froze, Dana's face fell. "Rick." "I'm just saying," Rick continued, tossing his drink on the counter. "Had some guy come in with like 3 kids last week, all of them barefoot, screaming, touching everything. Said he wanted to stay for 2 nights. I told him we're not a playpen." Dana lowered her voice. "You said more than that. He left embarrassed." "So," Rick shrugged, "this isn't a daycare. It's a motel. People come here to sleep, not to hear toddlers banging on the walls." Quinn turned slowly. "Excuse me," he said. "Is that how y'all usually talk about families?" Rick gave him a once-over. "You got kids?" "No," Quinn said. "But I've got ears." Rick leaned on the counter, clearly not recognizing him. "Look, man, after midnight, I'm the only one here. I deal with all the weirdos. Had some woman last week ask if her 3 kids could swim in the tub. I told her this ain't a water park." "You try working this shift, you'll see." Dana glanced at Quinn, awkward. "Not everyone's like that, Rick." "Most are," Rick said. "You see a single guy, no problem. You see a mom with 4 kids and no luggage, trouble." Quinn clenched his jaw. He turned to Dana. "Thanks. I'll get settled." He walked down the hall, hands shaking slightly with a mix of anger and disbelief. Back in the room, he sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall. That man was the night manager. Rick had worked here for 2 years, according to the employee list. No history of complaints. But if he was talking like that in front of customers, how was he treating the staff? Quinn stayed up late, listening. 3 more guests checked in, 2 older couples and 1 young guy with a backpack. Rick barely spoke to them. Dana handled everything. Around 2 in the morning, Quinn stepped out into the hallway and walked to the vending machine. As he passed the front desk, he overheard Rick again. "I told corporate we need to cut down weekend family bookings. They don't spend money, they bring problems. All they want is free breakfast and a place to scream." Dana didn't say anything this time. Quinn had heard enough. The next morning, he checked out without a word. But before leaving, he walked up to Dana. "Thanks for being kind," he said. She smiled, surprised. "Of course," he looked her straight in the eye. "We'll talk again soon." Back in his truck, Quinn called the district manager. "I want every staff file from the Riverside location, especially Rick's. Then set up a meeting for me with Dana." "Why, something happened?" "Yeah," Quinn said. "Families are being treated like trash at my motel. That ends now." The following Monday, Quinn Phelps parked his truck a block away from the Riverside location. No disguise this time. He wore a plain polo and jeans, the kind of outfit that wouldn't raise questions but wouldn't scream owner either. He was back under a new alias, staying for the week. This time, he'd be the new maintenance temp. The district manager had quietly added him to the schedule after Quinn explained what he needed. Inside the storage closet repurposed as a break room, Dana looked up from her coffee as he stepped in. "Oh, hey, you're the new guy," she asked, brushing a loose strand of hair out of her face. "Yeah, Frank," Quinn said, nodding. "They told me to check in with you before starting." Dana reached behind her for a clipboard. "We've been short-staffed since Travis quit. You'll mostly be helping with room repairs, light stuff. We're down to 2 housekeepers, so anything you can do to keep things moving helps." She didn't recognize him. That was good. Got it. "Anything urgent today?" She flipped through the maintenance log. "Room 17's sink has a slow drain. And the AC in 22 keeps tripping the breaker." "Easy enough," Quinn said. Dana glanced over her shoulder. "Rick's not in yet. You'll meet him tonight when you hand off the keys. Just don't take it personally if he's short with you." "He doesn't really talk to the back staff." Quinn raised an eyebrow. "He ignores maintenance." Dana hesitated. "He mostly keeps to himself, says he's not here to babysit." He nodded slowly, filing that away. "Got it. I'll stay out of his way." By mid-morning, Quinn had already fixed the clog in 17 and replaced the faulty breaker in 22. Neither task was difficult, but both rooms had been sitting with out-of-order tickets for over a week. He spotted one of the housekeepers, Maria, according to her badge, struggling to push a cart down the hall. "Need a hand?" he asked, stepping beside her. She blinked, surprised. "You don't have to. I've got 2 hands and no rush. What's on your list?" Maria handed him a crumpled sheet. "All 2nd floor, I'm by myself today. Teresa called out again." Quinn took the list. "I'll help you run linens up." As they worked, Maria opened up. She'd been with the motel almost 7 years. Used to love it, but lately, she said, the pace had become relentless and no one seemed to care. "Rick says he doesn't do maid problems," she said, adjusting a pillowcase. "And Dana, she's trying, but she's not in charge." Quinn watched her tuck in the sheet with practiced speed. "What does he do when you ask for help?" "Mostly criticizes, says we're slow. Once he told Teresa she should try cleaning her own house before coming here. She cried in the laundry room. He felt the weight of that. "Has anyone reported him?" Maria gave a tired laugh. "To who? He's the only manager on nights. And the last time someone said something, he cut their weekend shifts for a month." By noon, Quinn had heard enough to know this wasn't just a matter of bad customer service, it was a pattern of disrespect, and it was hurting the people holding the place together. That evening, he stayed late under the pretense of checking the water pressure in room 30. Around 6, Rick arrived. He walked in with a sandwich in one hand and his phone in the other. He didn't look up as he passed Dana. "You got the desk till 7, he said. "I'm not clocking in early again for someone else's screw-up." Dana looked at the clock. "It's 6:05. Rick waved her off and dropped his food on the counter. "Call me when someone breaks something." Quinn stepped out from the hallway holding a wrench. "Hey." "You Rick?" Rick turned, chewing. "Yeah, who are you?" "Frank, maintenance temp, just wrapping up," Rick grunted. "We don't usually need help down here, but whatever. Just don't knock anything over." Quinn watched him drop into the desk chair, open a YouTube video, and put his feet up. "You always this hands-on?" he asked. Rick didn't even look up. "I've worked here long enough to know what matters. People want keys and quiet, that's it." Quinn leaned slightly closer. "And what about staff? You treat them like they matter." Rick snorted. "They're fine. Bunch of complainers, mostly. You give them a job and they want air conditioning and appreciation." "What is this, preschool?" Dana stood quietly behind the desk, eyes fixed on the computer screen, saying nothing. Quinn stared at Rick. "Say that again." Rick looked over, finally taking notice. "What's your problem?" Quinn stepped forward and pulled his ID from his back pocket. Not the fake one, the real one. He held it out. "My name is Quinn Phelps. I own this entire chain." And I've just spent the last 2 days watching you disrespect my employees, my guests, and the values this brand was built on. For a second, the only sound was the faint buzz from the vending machine down the hall. Rick stood, face draining. Wait, this is a joke, right? Dana turned, eyes wide. No joke, Quinn said. I came here because of complaints. I stayed because of what I saw. You've insulted families, ignored your staff, and spent more time watching videos than running this place. Rick's voice rose. Hold on, I've worked here for years. I run this place when no one else wants the shift. You think I'm the problem? I'm the one who keeps this place from falling apart. Dana stepped forward. You don't fix anything. You don't train anyone. You won't even cover the desk if someone's sick. Rick turned on her. You think you know what this job is. You just smile and hand out keys. Quinn raised his hand. That's enough. You're done here. Turn in your key and get your things. Rick's mouth opened, but nothing came out. You're firing me, effective immediately, Quinn said. Zero tolerance for the way you've spoken to people. I don't care how long you've been here. Rick stood frozen for a moment, then stormed into the back office without another word. Quinn turned to Dana. You okay? She nodded slowly. I didn't know what to say. He's been like that for so long. You don't have to put up with it anymore. Quinn walked behind the counter and grabbed Rick's shift binder. He flipped it open, scanning the staffing notes. Looks like we've been operating with minimum staff for months. Dana nodded. We lost 2 people after the holidays. They never replaced them. Not anymore, he said. Starting tomorrow, we're bringing in a relief manager from the city location. You'll be interim lead in the meantime. You up for that? Dana blinked. Me, you're the only one holding this place together. You've earned it. Her voice was quiet. Thank you. Quinn gathered Rick's belongings from the office and left them outside the back door. No drama. Just closure. As night settled in, Quinn sat in the break room, watching Maria fold towels in the laundry area. You ever think about taking a lead role? He asked. Maria looked up cautious. Why? Because I'm rebuilding this team and I want people who actually care. She studied him for a moment, then nodded once. I'm interested. Good, that was 2 tomorrow he'd start interviews for new hires. But tonight, he'd sit with the people who mattered and listen. By Tuesday morning, word had started to travel through the Riverside Motel, not loudly, but in glances, lowered voices, and the shift in how people stood a little taller when Quinn passed. He wasn't hiding anymore. Everyone knew now. The quiet maintenance guy was actually the owner. Quinn walked into the back office just after 7, holding a notepad with a list of immediate operational priorities. Dana sat at the desk, already halfway through the morning audit. The weight in her expression from the past few days hadn't vanished, but there was a steadiness now, a kind of quiet control that hadn't been there before. You stayed late last night? Quinn asked, scanning the guest ledger. Yeah, Dana said without looking up. A family came in around 10. 2 adults, 3 kids, all half asleep. The youngest was still in pajamas. I gave them the quietest room left and brought them extra towels. Quinn looked up. That's exactly the kind of guest we're trying to keep. They were polite, she said. Just tired. Good, he said, setting the notepad beside her. I want to make sure they get a follow-up call tomorrow. Let them know they are appreciated. Dana nodded and went back to her screen, tapping in data with quiet efficiency. In the hallway, Quinn passed the laundry room and spotted Maria lugging a basket of fitted sheets toward the elevator. He stepped in beside her and took one end without asking. You always do second-floor runs alone? He asked. Usually, she said. Unless we're full, then I ask for help. Doesn't always come. They reached the cart and began loading linens. Maria moved quickly but winced slightly as she bent. You all right? He asked. Old injury, shoulder, gets tight when I carry too much. Quinn frowned. You didn't mention that yesterday, she shrugged. Didn't think it mattered. It does now. We'll get you a support brace and a rolling bin, no more baskets. Maria blinked. Thank you. He gave a short nod and returned to the front desk. The temporary manager from the city location, a woman named Laurel, had just arrived. She was in her 50s, with a clipped tone and a no-nonsense posture. She'd run one of the busiest properties in the chain for a decade and had volunteered to step in for 2 weeks while Quinn restructured Riverside. "Laurel," Quinn said, shaking her hand. "Appreciate you making the drive." "I've seen worse," she said, scanning the lobby. "Staff looks lean, lobby needs paint, security cameras are 5 years out of date." "Working on it," he said. "Front desk is Dana, she's your interim second, Maria's housekeeping lead. I want your help building them a team that can breathe." Laurel nodded and turned to Dana. "You trained," Dana straightened. "I've handled the desk solo for most of the last 6 months. I know the system back and forward." Laurel studied her. "We'll see how fast you pick up scheduling and vendor calls. You got backup," Dana hesitated. "I can learn." Laurel looked back at Quinn. "She's green, but teachable." "Then teach her," Quinn said. "She's staying." By mid-morning, Quinn moved through the building, checking in with each department. In room 29, he found a cracked faucet handle that had been taped with electrical tape. In the break room, he opened the fridge and found expired yogurt and 3 nearly empty water bottles. He made a note: replace fridge, restock weekly, clean monthly. At 11, a woman named Kendra arrived for an interview. Dana had called her in someone she'd worked with years ago at a different hotel. Kendra wore a plain blouse and flats, her resume printed and clipped in a folder. She had 6 years of guest services experience and a calm, clear way of speaking. "What made you leave your last job?" Quinn asked across the breakroom table. "My manager was difficult," she said carefully. "He didn't like questions or suggestions." Quinn nodded. "You'll get neither of those problems here," she raised an eyebrow. "You don't mind suggestions?" "I rely on them," he said. "You're hired, start tomorrow, you'll shadow Dana." Kendra smiled, but it was cautious. "Thanks, I'll do my best." At noon, Laurel pulled Quinn aside. "You've got decent people," she said, "but they're stretched. If a flu bug hits this place, it'll fall apart." "I know," he said. "Working on a recruiting push, we'll run lean a few more days." She crossed her arms. "You want to keep Dana. Get her a proper headset, a manual that actually matches our new booking system, and someone to cover graveyard who doesn't watch movies all night." They both paused. "I've already replaced the last one," Quinn said. Laurel gave a short nod. "Then we're halfway there." That evening, Quinn walked the property again. The parking lot lights flickered in one corner. A motion sensor near the east stairwell didn't trigger. He made notes, then stepped into the lobby just in time to see a couple arguing with the front desk. The man, mid-30s, wearing a windbreaker, was leaning on the counter. "You're telling me we don't have a reservation?" he asked. Dana was calm. "I checked under both names you gave. I don't see anything in the system." "We booked online," the woman said. "Through that third-party site." Quinn stepped beside Dana. "What platform?" "Travel Stay," the woman said. He checked the terminal. "They've been having sync issues. Let me find you a room." The couple exchanged a look. "You work here?" the man asked. "I own it," Quinn said simply. The man blinked. "Oh," he typed quickly, found an open room and handed them the key. "Sorry about the mix-up. We're fixing the back-end issues this week. Your stay's on us." The woman softened. "Thanks, that's unexpected." "That's how it should be," he said. After they left, Dana turned to him. "You didn't have to comp them." "Yes, I did," he said. "That glitch wasn't their fault." She nodded once, then gestured toward the back. "Laurel wants to talk about payroll." He followed her into the office and found Laurel seated, glasses perched on her nose. "You're paying Dana 20 cents above minimum," she said without preamble. "Maria's at base rate. That's unacceptable." "I agree," Quinn said. "I'm bumping Dana by $2 an hour, Maria by $2.50, and when Kendra proves herself, she'll start at the new baseline." "Approved," Quinn said. "Backdate at 1 pay cycle." Laurel raised an eyebrow. "You don't want to see the numbers? I've seen enough. They've earned more than this place has given them." That night, Quinn sat in the laundry room long after shift change. The hum of dryers filled the space. He watched Maria finish folding the day's last load. "You've been quiet today," she said. "Just thinking," he replied. "You're staying longer than we expected." I'm not leaving until this place works the way it should, she looked at him. That might take a while, then I'll take the time. She nodded once and returned to her folding. Outside, the parking lot was full. A family stepped out of their minivan, carrying backpacks and fast food bags. One of the kids pointed to the vending machine and laughed. Inside, the lobby lights stayed on. And for the first time in weeks, no one yelled, no one sighed, and no one rolled their eyes at who walked through the door. By the end of the week, Quinn Phelps had a routine. Mornings started with Dana at the front desk, reviewing bookings and mapping out room turnovers. Midday was split between shadowing Laurel as she ran point on staffing plans, and checking in with Maria, who had now taken over scheduling the housekeepers, a task she didn't ask for, but handled with quiet precision. Evenings were spent walking the halls, clipboard in hand, watching the place function in real time. It wasn't fixed. Not yet. But it was moving. Friday afternoon, Quinn stood outside room 35, watching a new hire fumble with a vacuum cord. Her name was Lacey, early 20s, just 3 days into the job, fresh from a short stint at a fast food chain. She was eager but clearly overwhelmed. "This outlet?" she asked, holding the cord up like it might bite. "No," Maria said, pointing toward the one behind the dresser. "That one's dead." "Always use the one near the window." Lacey nodded and bent to plug it in. Quinn stepped closer. "You doing all right?" She straightened. "I think so. I've never cleaned this many rooms in one day. How many you on?" "This is 6. Maria stepped in. "She's with me. I'm helping her finish." "I didn't want to throw her into a full rotation." Quinn turned to Lacey. "If anything doesn't make sense or feels off, say something." Lacey looked unsure. "I don't want to be a problem." "You're not," he said. "Problems are people who ignore problems. You're learning." As they moved toward the next room, Quinn caught Laurel exiting the elevator with a clipboard under one arm and a wireless headset on. "We've got a vendor issue," she said, meeting him halfway. "New towel orders haven't arrived. Supplier says they're backlogged. How many days until we're short?" 3, maybe 4 if we're careful. Switch to the regional distributor. "I don't care if it costs 20 cents more per unit." Laurel paused. "That'll bump our linen budget by 12%. I'd rather spend extra than have guests drying off with pillowcases." "Fair enough," she said, already dialing. Downstairs, Dana was walking a middle-aged couple through the check-in process. The man was visibly agitated, fidgeting, glancing around the lobby like he didn't trust anything he saw. "This doesn't look like the pictures," he said, cutting off Dana mid-sentence. "I'm sorry," she replied evenly. "We've updated some spaces, but the photos are from last year. Your room is one of our newer ones." "What about the noise?" he asked. "I don't want to hear kids screaming all night." Quinn stepped beside her, silent. Dana didn't flinch. "We ask all guests to respect quiet hours after 10. If there's an issue, we'll handle it." The man narrowed his eyes. "I don't want to be woken up at 6 by cartoons and juice boxes." Dana opened her mouth, but Quinn raised a hand. "This is a family-friendly property," he said, voice calm. "We welcome travelers of all types. If that's going to be a problem, I can suggest a different place down the road." The man blinked. "You serious?" "I run this property," Quinn said, "and I take hospitality seriously. If you're not comfortable sharing space with families, this may not be the right fit." The man looked at his wife, who gave a subtle shake of her head. "We'll stay," the man muttered. Quinn nodded once. "Then we'll make sure you're comfortable." After they left, Dana exhaled. "Thanks," she said. "You handled it," he replied. "I just backed you up." Later that afternoon, Quinn gathered the entire staff, every department, for a meeting in the small breakfast area. It was the first time they'd all been in one place. Folding chairs were pulled from the storage closet. Coffee brewed in the corner. Nobody brought phones. Quinn stood in front, hands at his sides. "I wanted to say something before I head back to headquarters next week," he began. "When I came here, I didn't come as the owner. I came as someone trying to understand why people were leaving bad reviews, why morale was low, and why good employees were burning out." He looked around the room. Every face was watching him. What I found wasn't broken systems, it wasn't lazy staff, it was a culture that stopped listening. People were doing their best and being ignored. Others were coasting, unchecked. That stops now. He turned to Dana. You've taken more responsibility in a week than most people do in a year. Effective immediately, you're the permanent front desk lead with full scheduling authority and a raise to match. Dana's mouth opened slightly. She didn't speak. She just nodded once, stunned. He turned to Maria. You've rebuilt the housekeeping schedule from scratch, trained new hires, and kept this place moving without complaint. You're now operations supervisor for this location. Any issues with inventory, maintenance, or cleaning come through you. Maria's eyes glistened, but she didn't blink. Quinn continued. Laurel will stay on for another 10 days to finish onboarding the new hires. After that, I'll be assigning a permanent manager from outside the chain. They'll report directly to me. If they don't meet the standard, they'll be gone. He scanned the room again. If you see something wrong, speak up. If you're overwhelmed, say it. If someone treats a guest or a coworker with disrespect, I expect it to come to my desk. No exceptions, no more silence. A few heads nodded. Lacey shifted in her chair, glancing down at her notes. Quinn stepped back. This place used to be known for treating people like people. That's what my father built. Somewhere along the line, we lost that, but we're getting it back. After the meeting, Quinn stayed behind while chairs were folded and people trickled out. Laurel lingered beside the coffee machine. You meant what you said about pulling the new manager if they don't fit. Absolutely, he said. You're not just patching a hole here, you're resetting the foundation. He looked at the empty chairs. Then it better hold. Saturday morning, Quinn met with the family from room 14 as they loaded their SUV. The father shook his hand quietly, the mother thanked Dana through the passenger window, and the kids waved from the back seat. No complaints, no drama. Inside, the desk phone rang. Kendra answered it with a steady tone and transferred the call without hesitation. She handed Dana a small note with a room update and returned to her terminal. Quinn stood by the vending machine for a moment, watching the lobby. It wasn't perfect, but it was clean. It was calm. And it was functioning. He walked outside, paused near the edge of the parking lot, and looked back once. The sun caught the sign just right. The name still held meaning. He got into his truck and started the engine. There was work to do elsewhere, but here, for now, the work was done right.